Hi, Virginia. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for contributing this beautiful podcast that very excited to be running. Appreciate it a
Yeah.
lot. It's a really rich, sort of emotional sounding mix, I think.
That's
What mood were you trying to convey when you put this together?
well, it's. I mean, you always have big plans when you start a mix, and in the end, it turns out to be very different than what you initially wanted to do. But what I'm always trying is just to ask myself, what would I love to hear?
Right.
What are maybe records that I'm not being able to play in the club, at a, I don't know, prime time set or something. And what I try with the mix is always to like start slower and then kind of accelerate a little bit.
Right.
And so it's just really records that I love, that I would love hear one after another, and then that's how I compile them basically.
There's a lot of syncopation, rhythmic
Uh-huh.
syncopation in this mix.
Yeah,
A lot of what you could even call electro stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um, does that differ a little bit than what you would play in the club, say?
Um, yeah, I mean, I love broken beats. I love electro, but it's not very easy to play that stuff out. And I, as you probably also recognize, I pitched some of the tracks
Hmm.
uh, to a lower tempo to mix them, bring them together. But I mean, I'd love to play, some electro tunes every once in a while. But it's you have to make it easy, I'd say, for the audience to jump on the train. So it's probably like an hour of electro would be too much if you play like a couple of tracks that would work. Um, but usually I'm not playing electro in my sets these days. Like, no, not really.
Well, maybe when people respond to this mix, maybe you'll
it,
start
it
adding some to your
Yeah. No, I
to your
do
sets.
definitely like every once in a while, and especially some of those slower, newer electro tracks, because a lot of the old stuff is like really fast. But so that would work in like like an intro set to play a couple of those very moody, stringy electro tunes,
Right.
but not like a full set.
Right. Yeah. Of course not.
Yeah.
People need their four to the floor rhythms.
They need their four to the floor.
Speaking of electro, you included at least one song that I would call a classic, the electro mix of LFO's
Yeah,
Tied Up, and you
yeah,
included a few other older songs as well
yeah.
in the mix. Do you think it's important to have a few older tracks in your sets, or is it more a case of simply using whatever tracks work in the mix?
I think it's not that I'm trying or looking out for old or classics or not at all, because what I most of the time what I try with a mix is to have it somehow timeless. But in this case, it just really suited the mix very well.
Right.
And so I went through all these records, like old and new stuff, and these records that I found for the mix in the end would like perfectly, in my opinion, like perfectly match together. And but it's not something that I like intend to do. I need some old stuff on or some old classics on my mix, not at all. And I try always to like mix it up a little, like have some new stuff and maybe have some old
Right.
stuff, but it's not like an intention,
Okay.
I'd say.
It's a really nicely
If
put
that
together.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a really nicely mixed set, well put
Hmm.
together set. How did you actually construct this? What methodology did you use?
um you mean in terms of how I
Yeah,
recorded it?
like were you mixed using, say, Ableton or just playing
Oh, no,
records
no,
or
no. It's this is like a very classic setup. It's just two decks and a rotary mixer, and then I just go through the mixes again and again. And once I know where all my mixing points are, I go from A to Z.
well
So
done. And we
yeah,
like that methodology. Old school is the best school.
Old school, definitely. Yeah.
So what's next on the agenda for you? Any tours? Any new music coming up?
I actually start working on my album now, on my solo album.
Right.
And but that's gonna take some time. So it's not gonna come out before next year. But this is actually something that I'm really concentrating on. I just came back from my first tour in Australia, which I had the chance to go to with Steffi, and we spent almost like a month there. And so there was also like a little bit of on the weekends we played, and during the week we had time to explore the country a little bit. So I had a little bit of a holiday, I'd say, and now I'm like focusing and back in the studio and gathering all my creativity, I'd say, for the album production, first of all.
Well, great. Well, good luck with the album.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for taking the time to talk, and thank you for this beautiful podcast.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for having me.
My pleasure.